Today I will show you how to use Yeoman development workflow in order to brand your SharePoint sites. First of all, I have to mention that because of some technical issues, I'm not able to increase the size of the projector, and therefore, the screen is a little bit small, but I hope that's fine for you. Yuri's session, which has been cancelled earlier today, will now take place in K2. But both of the sessions are recorded, so you should be able to watch them also later online. First of all, before I start, we do in Germany something similar to SharePoint Saturday. We call that ShareCamp. If you're interested in this kind of community events, we will publicly announce the date during the next week. So for you, it's in the end of May. And the registration starts in the mid of February. So if you're interested, feel free and register for our ShareCamp. Before we start with the topic, a slide about me. My name is Thorsten Hans. I'm working for Experts Insight. We are a new startup which is located in Germany, Switzerland, and South Africa. And we are mostly focusing, or almost only focusing, on SharePoint and SharePoint Online development and consulting stuff. And the most important thing on this slide is my mail address. So if you have any question regarding to this topic, feel free to write me a mail or drop me a quote on Twitter or something like that, or Facebook. So, yeah. What I will show today, first we will revisit SharePoint's WCM capabilities. So we will show, or I will show what SharePoint 2013 is offering for us in order to create public-facing websites. Especially the new design manager will be shown later, and then we move on. And I will show how to use Yeoman to brand SharePoint sites or to create web apps. Yeoman isn't dedicated to this job. It's more a common web front-end development workflow. Yeah, and at the end, we will actually build a new master page for SharePoint and deploy that to SharePoint Online or SharePoint On-Prem. So this solution works for both, and you don't have to care about the platform. It's just, or we take it as given, and we don't care about if it's on-prem or online. Yeah, SharePoint as a WCM platform has been driving me crazy in the releases before 2013, and Microsoft has invested a lot of money and a lot of time in improving the WCM features which are offered by SharePoint. And I've summarized a few of the new and cool things that we use in order to create master pages or brandings. So device channels are of course new in 2013. By using device channels you can assign different master pages to different devices. Actually, we have used them in two large projects and decided later to remove them again and make our design more responsive, because it's more native, let's say, it's more native for web developer to do it responsive instead of using different device channels. In order to support any kind of development tool for branding solutions, Microsoft has introduced HTML master pages and page layouts. And these are exactly the features which we use, and on top of them we have built this Yeoman development workflow. Yeah, last but not least, the HTML quality of which SharePoint generates in public-facing sites is not perfect, but it's continuously improving. That's especially true for the on-demand version, where continuously releases were shipped. I think in these days they were shipping almost every week or so. So we see, or we recognize, a lot of improvements in the online version since the global availability of the 2013 wave. On the other hand, we have some cool features which you can use to bring content into your WCM portals. So content by search web part, I think almost everybody has heard of it. Catalogs are also a feature that we use in almost every branding or public-facing website project. And last but not least, the content type hub, which is really important when you consider building more than one public-facing website. So we have a customer who has more than 100 public-facing sites, and each site is hosted on a dedicated site collection, and therefore we created one content type hub and are spreading the content types to all these site collections. By using the content type hub, we could ensure that all content types are up to date on all websites, and they are using the latest page layouts in order to get rendered as the customer would like to. Yeah, the design manager, that's also a new thing in SharePoint 2013. It's, I call it, it's the designer's dashboard, so it's grouping all existing capabilities of SharePoint which are targeting to branding or making SharePoint look nicer, and all these things are located within the designer's dashboard. That's also a good starting point if you're new to branding a SharePoint, or if it's the first time you have to brand SharePoint. So Design Manager, and that's actually what we are jumping into SharePoint for the first time. You can find the Design Manager in the site settings page, and it's depending on which template you have selected for your site collection. So this is a publishing site, and if it's a publishing site, then you have this menu item over here, and as you can see, it's created like a small wizard which points you to all the important tasks when it comes to branding SharePoint 2013, hopefully. There's also one important thing. One moment. Master pages. Upload design files. Somewhere over here. They are pointing to a link. And on a Windows machine, you can add this as a mapped folder, which unfortunately didn't work on my Mac. I found some discussions about that online, that it's currently not working on OS X, but they are looking forward to bring support for Mac also. We are using exactly this mechanism to rapidly publish iterations from our brandings by using WebDAV. So, but it will be shown later. So Design Manager is a good starting point. You find everything you need. You have you could start from here with a new master page. Let's say SPS SDHM. Takes a minute. Okay. And somewhere over here, you see a new entry in this list, and it points that conversion is successful. In the back, Microsoft is generating an HTML file. The HTML file is marked as a HTML master page, and if you add a new version of this document, then in the back a job runs which converts the HTML to the well-known master page ASPX format. And depending if you violate any rules, then conversion will fail, and you get some log messages over here which points you to the error, hopefully. And that's exactly what we are doing in the back. So we are not writing ASP.NET, we are writing HTML, because we can use the tools that we want. And when it comes to branding, all of the design guys that are involved in our design projects use Macs. So they don't have all these Microsoft tools in order to connect to SharePoint, or for example, let's say the bad word, SharePoint Designer, for example. But right now they are totally fine. They could connect to SharePoint using Dreamweaver, for example, and they could directly make changes on existing files within the SharePoint environment. The same is true for page layouts. They are also HTML, and they are also converted when you upload them. So that's new in SharePoint 2013, and also new is if I hit a master page over here, I get the preview mode, and I can directly preview in the website, which is great. And the most important thing for us when it comes to branding is the snippet manager, because the snippet manager is offering different HTML snippets depending on what you are looking for. So the internet connection is a little bit slow, but when the page renders, then you should see, there it is, different SharePoint components. So let's say, for example, I would like to include the search box into my new SharePoint master page. Then I can select it from the ribbon over here, make some changes to comment properties over there, and grab the HTML and paste that in my master page. And as you can see, this is Microsoft HTML. It's a little bit chatty for, oops, the resolution is a little bit hard to work with it. Yeah, it's a little bit chatty when you recognize that all this code is needed in order to render just a search box. But let's review that, because this is an important point for branding. So as you can see, there's a lot going on there. There's some divs, but you can perhaps recognize these elements. CS, SPM, there should be a PS somewhere. PE is over here. There it is. And these commands are handled by the conversion job in the back. So if we upload a HTML page containing these kinds of comments, then SharePoint will recognize them and will translate them depending on their prefix. So SPM is SharePoint markup, and that's commonly used for adding references to the current website. And to ensure that all components are working without making changes to be made from the designer, Microsoft is including all of these into each snippet. So that's something where we are still struggling with. We have, or in our projects, we write this HTML manually. We don't use Snippet Manager at all because it costs more time to pull out all the unusable Microsoft stuff instead of writing it by myself. But it's a good starting point. MS for Microsoft, that this is used in order to introduce controls or ASP.NET user controls which will be rendered later in the master page. PS stands for Preview Start. And Preview Start, perhaps you've recognized it over here, over there. This yellow box over there will only be displayed in the preview mode. If I deploy the same page to the production, then the yellow part is replaced by page content, for example. So that's actually the Microsoft story for branding in 2013 with its new features. And we gave that a chance. We did one project with that, and then we came over Yeoman, so we found that on the web, and we thought about how can we take SharePoint's branding capabilities to the limit. And that's the next part. Where is my slide deck? Over here. So Yeoman is has been founded by some well-known JavaScript developers, hosted, or some of them work for Google. One of the most famous one is Paul Irish. Most of the JavaScript developers have heard his name. And Google isn't owning the project. Google is maintaining or contributing to the project. And it's comprised of 3 of the best open source libraries that are currently available. And on top of that, it runs on each machine, so you don't need a Mac. You can do it on a Surface. You can do it on a Linux machine. That's no problem, because all these tools are based on Node.js. So 3 tools form up the entire Yeoman suite, which is Yo. Yo is responsible for scaffolding, which means Yo is actually generating project structures for you. Grunt, who has been using Grunt in the past? Okay, a few. Grunt is, let's say it's a JavaScript build engine or task runner, which is responsible for executing various or different things, like, for example, compiling CoffeeScript, automatically minimizing JavaScript files, generating CSS revisions, stuff like that. And the third component is Bower. Bower is a client-side package manager. Let's say it's NuGet for JavaScript and CSS packages, which turns out to be awesome because we don't have to include all the JavaScripts into our source control. We have just one file which describes our dependencies, and so a new development machine is set up in a few seconds, and we can easily migrate to the most recent version of JavaScript or CSS frameworks. Yeah, installing is very, very easy, especially on a Mac. On Windows, it's a little bit, you have to do a little bit more manually. Node.js, you have to install Node.js first. Git is also required. Ruby and Compass are required if you would like to use Compass in order to get some fancy CSS stuff, but aren't actually a dependency from Yeoman. That's all what you need. So if you have, for example, already installed Node.js, you can just use npm, the Node package manager, in order to install Yeoman. And Yeoman is using something that's called generators. And depending on generators, you could build different things. For example, web app, that's the default generator, which generates a new HTML front-end application. There are generators for Chrome extensions, generators for PhoneGap apps, for almost everything. And that was especially the point where we say, hey, let's create our own generator for SharePoint branding projects. But before coming to that, I will show you the different components a little bit. Is the font size, is that okay? Okay. So where are we? We are over here. Yes. First, let's Grunt.js. Let's review that. So Grunt. The only thing what you have to do is to write a JavaScript or CoffeeScript file, which says, hey, when I'm executing Grunt, and let's say when I'm executing, or when I'm passing the build parameter, then I will Grunt to execute all the jobs listed or all the tasks listed in an array. And this job is responsible for converting our sample JavaScript file or sample CoffeeScript file into a JavaScript file. So that's really straightforward. I have to configure Grunt at the beginning, and then I define a task which will be executed. Then I have my CoffeeScript file over here. So let's save all the files, move over to the console again, and just hit Grunt build, for example. And I say coffee compile, done without errors. And what I get, starting from the source, I got especially this JavaScript, which is a little bit more chatty and is a little bit more robust than JavaScript that I would write when I start from scratch. So that's an example how or what Grunt can do. I have also an example over here for how to use Grunt with CoffeeScript. So it's very easy because the Grunt package is automatically inspecting your directory. And if I execute Grunt over here, then it's recognizing, hey, there's a CoffeeScript file or a Grunt file with a coffee extension. Then it is also able to execute this. And that's exactly the same configuration in CoffeeScript, which is a little bit, or turns out to be a little bit more readable, and CoffeeScript especially offers a lot of syntactic sugar that we know from Ruby, so it makes more fun to write JavaScript. But that's for the Grunt side. One note on Bower. So what I have over here, I have a Bower JSON. Let's remove that one. Clear. I have to decrease the size a little bit. Okay. No. So Bower is also available as a node package, and it brings me a command called Bower init. So I could say, I'm interested in consuming client-side dependencies. Then I have to add some metadata, or I could just use the default values over here. So yes, this looks great. And now I could say, let's clear the screen again, Bower install jQuery, for example, and then it's going to the central package manager, it's grabbing the latest jQuery version from GitHub, and it's installing jQuery into my project folder. So I have these Bower components folder, and this folder will typically be added to your .gitignore to your gitignore file, because you don't need Bower components inside of your source control. Okay, that's so Bower is really easy, straightforward. It's just a package manager. And last but not least, there's the Yeoman executable, which is called Yo. I have a demo folder for it. So I've installed before I've started the talk, I've installed a few generators. I can pass the generator's name as an argument right here, or I can just execute Yo, which looks to the current environment, and depending on the installed generators, you get a list where you can choose which generator you would like to use for the current project. So for starting, let's use the web app generator. In Yeoman, that's the same for all generators. It's always asking, hey, what should I actually do? Give me some more information, give me some metadata. And right here, for example, I could choose which frameworks should be installed by default or which shouldn't be installed. So let's take all of them. And right now it's pulling all the requirements from GitHub or from the repositories. First, all node packages which are required for executing build stuff, running unit tests, and so on. And then it's pulling all the Bower client-side dependencies, and that's it. What we got? We get all the configuration stuff is done. So we have a package.json file which describes all development dependencies which are required for Yeoman to build all the stuff. We got a pre-written Grunt file which has a lot of functionality in it. We got the dependency file for Bower, and we got various configuration files for integrating other great things like JS hint or like editor config. So each developer in our company has installed editor config, which is available for Visual Studio, for Sublime, for Vim, And this add-on takes care about spaces, tabs, indenting, all the stuff. And if there is an editor config file, then the plugin will take the settings and from this file and use them for the current project. But most important folder over here is the app folder, and that's actually the folder where we are developing in. So we have right here HTML files, of course styles, which means SCSS, JavaScript, images, and so on. And the little demo which they've created is grunt serve. Now the tasks are running in the back, and the browser fires up, and I get a sample application which has been generated from the developer. So that's what you got when you start from a web app generator. So it's saving a lot of time. And we thought about all these cool features which Yeoman is offering, and we wrote something, or we wrote a generator for SharePoint. Let's make a new SPS. What we recognized is we started with plain old JavaScript. We started with HTML. We started with SCSS. But then we recognized, hey, that's not as cool as it could be. So we added CoffeeScript support. We added Jade support. Who knows Jade? Okay, 1, 2. Jade is actually a language which compiles into HTML. It's great because I can save all the brackets, and I don't have to close a div tag, for example, but I have to take care about indentation, and I get compile time check also for HTML, which turns out to be one of the biggest benefits. So what we are asking during the instance setup process is the name of your master page. For example, if you were interested in using Twitter Bootstrap, which is great for a demo, then should we auto-prefix the CSS files, yes or no? And last but not least, you could provide a property name or an environment variable name where we can find the webDAV folder. And if you provide one, let's say sample, then we are also creating a grunt task which is responsible for automatically, or if you fire it up, for deploying all the required bits to your SharePoint environment. And as I've mentioned in the beginning, it's unfortunately not working on OS X right now, but it's perfectly working on Windows. And if there's a little time left at the end of the session, I will start up the Windows machine and we can give it a try over there. Okay, we got an app folder with a Jade subfolder, which means we have an SPS Jade file. This is actually bringing you all the Chrome. Let's say this is the master page that we are providing. And as you can see, it's really, really small. That's the entire master page with Google Analytics integration, and it's nothing more required. It looks a little bit unfamiliar if you don't know Jade. HTML should be clear, head should be clear, body generates the body tag, then a term prefixed with a hash means generate a div and associate the following ID. A dot means generate a div and associate the following CSS class or classes. So I could write row dot first, and then the generated div will have these two classes. So you could easily chain these things. And every time I would like to go deeper in the HTML structure, I have to indent my Jade source. Images or with HTML attributes, as you can see, it's a little bit, it's cleaner and it's easier to write. And as I've mentioned, you get compile time support. And another great feature from Jade is inheritance. So this will be a page layout. And this is the entire page layout that I will publish later. So this extends the SPS file. The Jade engine is looking in the same folder for a file called SPS and looks for a block which is called content. So let's dig into my responsive grid over here, and somewhere is block content. And at this point, the contents of block will be injected at compile time. There's another block for an edit mode panel, because it turned out that most of the users who are later consuming or editing our public-facing sites would like to have a dedicated edit area where we could provide different kinds of user controls instead of putting all the controls in place where they later appear in the site. Another great feature are mix-ins. So what we actually do is let's create a folder, mix-ins, and right here let's create a file and call it sp fields or fields.jade. And what I'm now creating is a kind of, let's say, user control. And right here I describe, if someone is using SP title, then please render the following HTML. PS, let's call it SP title. Preview end. And for preview, we are just giving the choice again to the developer, say, hey, if you use my SP title control and you pass or you add some code with one indentation below that user control, then this code is rendered during the preview mode. And in the release mode, please render, for example, render the title field from the current list item. So that's the way how we try to build a reusable structure. And within our page layout, I could just say include mixins/fields, and right here I could say plus sp title. And for right now I have the indentation, and there's a convention that you have to use the separator in the case of providing plain text, demo title. So that means if I start or if I run this website, then it will show the demo title, and if I upload this site to SharePoint and if it's conversion successfully, then the demo title will be replaced at runtime with the following SharePoint field. So hopefully I had made no mistake. Let's check it. Run build. SP title mixins. Okay, let's remove that, and for the first demo, let's start with on the clear field. So it's building, it's executing JavaScript tests and stuff like that, if there were some tests, and then it offers something which turns out to be the best feature. Okay, the preview is my website isn't that responsive, as you can see. So the browser fires up with 2 pages, both located on localhost. First, I got the actual page layout, and the second one is the master page. And I think the only thing which is not responsible is the hard-coded placeholder image. And right now, where's my editor? Okay, the resolution is really bad. Don't save. Okay, that's enough to get a rough understanding. I open up my master page, and over here somewhere is the placeholder. So let's use 960. No, let's use 600 for this resolution. Right now I hit save. And in the back, as you can see, the page has been refreshed instantly without doing anything else, and I can so really easily keep on developing, continuously improving my websites, my master pages, or my page layouts. And that's exactly in a real environment with a real resolution. You have two screens, for example. Then we have the browser on the one, the editor on the other side. We are writing, saving, and you get fast feedback for building SharePoint master pages, which turns out to be one of the best advantages of using the Yeoman workflow. And at the end, let's again move to the editor. At the end, you get a dist folder, and a dist folder contains everything which is required on SharePoint to display your branding as it is in your preview. Which means we have the compiled HTML files for the master page, for the page layout. Sorry, we have the SPS master page, which will be uploaded to SharePoint. We have a folder whose name is matching to the master page name. This folder contains images, CSS classes, and JavaScripts. You can see all images are also minified, and the scripts also, of course. So as you can see, that's all JavaScript, and this is all CSS. And there is a version number in front of each file, and Yeoman takes care about replacing your, let's say, main.js with a version string in front. So if you update any component of your branding, SharePoint directly recognizes, hey, I have to reference another file, and all your caching problems were automatically gone. You don't have to care about all these problems, how many customers may have cached X, Y, Z. The entire process is taking care of that. And with these binaries over here, let's call it binaries, we just have to upload them to SharePoint. So let's do that for a quick demo. Let's take back to the master page gallery. And I do that the old way, not using the design manager. Let's go to master pages and page layouts. And right now I select files. Come on, upload document. Choose file. Dev. A lot of folders right here. So let's choose SPS, for example, and let's dig into the dist folder and choose the master page. Upload this one. First time you upload HTML files manually or by using our job or our grunt task that we are publishing, you have to manually specify what SharePoint should do with this file. By selecting HTML master page, SharePoint knows I have to execute the master page conversion job, and you have to say generate an associated file, which actually means generate the master page file in the gallery. When I then hit save, the job will run in the back, and going back to the design manager, then I get the feedback from the design manager. Oh, come on. Site settings, design manager. Master pages. Now my master page should be listed right here. Conversion successful, and I can easily try the master page out. I'm still missing the CSS files, the images, all the stuff of that. So that will also be uploaded, and then it looks like my preview that I've generated. Okay, I haven't saved. I haven't executed the build task. Therefore, there's the large image still sitting inside of the master page. And that's how the workflow in detail worked, but let me explain some of the cool features that we are also offering. As I've mentioned, we are offering CoffeeScript compilation, so all the scripts, all our scripts, not the vendor scripts, new file, let's save, that's my animator.coffee. All these files were compiled into JavaScript. Ready. And I can easily run. We don't need these brackets. Ready, let's say, to give me all, or if a link is clicked, then execute some function, for example, console.log, link clicked, and that will be translated into JavaScript at compile time. Another important thing is right here in our Jade files. Somewhere over there, you see these. It's a feature of Compass. Somewhere is the vendor script. Vendor. Which means take all the following referenced JavaScript files and compile them at compile time to a single JavaScript file in order to reduce the amount of HTTP requests which are generated by my master page. And we are also, what are we executing next? Let's just review. Yeah, we have this live preview, we have the unit test, all the JavaScript which has been generated will be checked by JS hint. We have unit test support for CoffeeScript for JavaScript. We also add some image minimization. I've mentioned that already, and we are going to put an image map or generate an image map on the fly from all of your images and update the references in your HTML file in order to request only one big image instead of requesting tons of small 2 kilobyte images. So it's all these requirements were defined by a customer of us who was interested in this workflow, and we have involved all the things that I've shown during the development of their public facing website. Let's try. So that's one of the biggest projects that we have done, or what we have built with the Yeoman workflow. Of course, there is going on a lot of SharePoint development in the back for delivering all the content, but everything over here has been written in CoffeeScript and Jade, and there are some nice features over here. For example, the resolution is that bad. I'm still trying to. No, let's go to. Don't know if this site is already online. If not, I can show you the source code, because there were some cool we get some cool features. So. Okay, what we have built for this, aborted during warnings and an update. No, that's an old grunt version where the grunt file still pointing to server, not to serve. So we have delivered 12 or 13, no, I think 12 page layouts and the master page. All layouts should be responsive, hopefully. Not all. Yeah, place kittens everywhere. With different features, as you can see over here, how lists will be rendered if SharePoint returns lists. Okay, news details doesn't work. How the archive will be rendered at runtime. How, that's the master page. That's the master page. That's the page layout base class, for example. News overview, how the starting site or the welcome site for news are looking. And the country sites, global presence, for example. And all the content that appears right here in the website is been defined by the developers inside of such a preview tag. And I will, not settings, I will just fire up the editor and explain a few of the things that we have done over here. So again, to the app folder, we have the Jade folder, which is responsible for holding all the UI stuff. And we have also, as you can see, we've added more separation layers, as I have demonstrated earlier. So we have the again these user controls, so which are responsible for actually putting in the web controls within our page layouts. And right here you can find almost all controls or fields which were published to this kind of website. And yeah, it turns out to be more readable if I render the page content, for example, by using this one line of code instead of pasting 50 lines of Microsoft HTML code from the snippet manager. So this is maintainable. So for example, if customer decides that the teaser, news teaser text should be, moment, is it it's a node field? Let's take the headline over there. Should be read only, so editors should not be able to edit this field in the preview. Then I could just say display mode gleich view, and that's it. So it's very, very easy to add new features, to make changes to the project without the requirement of digging through thousands of lines of HTML. We just have proven a good project structure as we know it from C#, for example. And the master page is this one, which looks pretty similar to the one that we are automatically generating. There are, of course, integrated a few custom JavaScripts right here, and there are there are other CSS classes over there, because we are not using Bootstrap in this sample. I think we are not using Bootstrap. No. Maybe. Which turns out to that the Bootstrap was offering too much. The library was too big, and we went for Inuit CSS, for example, which also brings these responsive features. And the actual page layouts are really, really, really small. So this is the plain page layout, which is nowhere used because all pages in portals are commonly customized or based on custom content types. So for example, let's take the country site which represents a single page for each country of our where our customer has a subsidiary. First we are extending the layout. The layout brings all the Chrome, and then we say, hey, we are just interested in the content layout. We named that placeholder layout in this project, and right here we have divided the website in two areas. We have one on the left, which takes 8 from 12 columns, thanks. And on the right side we have a small sidebar where the sites are rendered. These are pulled out from SharePoint using a Ruby engine that we have written for SharePoint. And so this is how the site has been built. And for example, let's consider the previews. So that's the country sidebar, and that's actually the preview. And the preview is just how have we done this. We went to their old website, just use Chrome developer tools to select exactly what we were interested in. Tools, no, not extensions, tools. Developer tools. Let's say we were interested in not this, in all this fancy stuff on the bottom. We copy as HTML, then you can go to HTML to Jade. There is an existing converter, for example. You can just paste in all the HTML code and you get Jade. You copy the Jade, you go to your file, you hit save to get a sample Jade. I paste in all the Jade code. Okay, I have to rearrange these comments. But then I'm actually done after making the comments working. Okay, and then I have the entire preview. Of course, I have to copy the images which are part of the area I was interested in, but that's everything what is required to get preview data into your master page or into your page layout. And this is very important for designing, because if you start building brandings for SharePoint and you don't have existing content for your master page, then it's hard to figure out how the content will align in the design. Therefore, we have extended, or we had invested more in this preview engine in order to get the same, exactly the same behavior on the development machine as on SharePoint. So we had built this entire branding project in 8 days. And the advantage is that we built all these page layouts and the master page without having an actual SharePoint environment, because the customer was still in a process of rolling out SharePoint 2013, and while the infrastructure guys were installing their bits, we could start up with I think I crashed my Chrome. No, I didn't. We could start up building the website, and we get all these behaviors on our development machines. And at this point, we didn't care about if SharePoint is possible to give us these countries, all the data. Customer said, I would like that my website will look that way, and we said, okay, we make that happen. And the following project was, of course, pulling out all of the all the data of SharePoint using Search API. Or we built, which turns out to be very, very important for SharePoint Online, that we are aggregating a lot of data from the SharePoint search. We are pushing this into an Windows Azure CDN and distributing this directly from the CDN. For example, our public website has also been built using Yeoman, is running on Office 365, as this website is of course responsible. And all these data, one moment, let's go to my profile, for example. Come on. So there are some information from GitHub, some blog posts, tweets, and stuff like that. All this information is pulled out from the different sources, is also aggregated to Windows Azure and distributed from the CDN. And especially the same are we currently building for our new public-facing website based on SharePoint search results. So we are executing search queries in the back. We are continuously pushing these results to Windows Azure and are referencing these data from the Azure CDN to deliver pages with more speed, because we got that feedback from our customer that that rendering times were too slow with plain old SharePoint using content by search web part in many places, because the entire navigation over here has been built by using search. All the data in the actual page has been gathered by the search. Everything in this portal is search driven. And in order to meet the requirement that pages should be rendered, I don't know actually the amount of time. There were some, we had some requirements regarding rendering times, and these were hard to meet. So that's another advice which is important for branding websites. That's, I think there are 3 minutes left, and at some point, because the resolution drove me crazy, I have missed my nice slide deck over here. If you are interested in using it, it's all open source, it's all available. The generator is also available on GitHub, and it's also available as a NuGet package. So, for example, one moment, stop that one. Let's go to the top. You can install new Yeoman generators using sudo npm search generator -star. Then you get an overview of all available generators. Or if you are using the browser, so you're from the generation click, then you can go to yeoman.ao, and there all open source community generators are listed. And if you dig through the list of results when you search for SharePoint, then Kevin, which is actually the coworker who has founded or who has written most of the original generator, has written the SP 2013 generator, which I don't know if he had updated it to Bootstrap 3. Maybe it's still on Bootstrap 2.8, but there's also my version which is including Bootstrap 3.0. Then you can easily, no match found generator, okay, strange. I could easily install, for example, generator minus JS. Should add a moment, npm missing. So. Angular. Okay. What? It's only Angular. Oh. Yeah. So right now I'm just installing a new generator who will give me a new the possibility to generate easily new Angular web apps directly using Yeoman. So everything is available for free on NPM or on GitHub. You could, of course, contribute. So I saw a few new contributors from Norway, I think, during the last 3 weeks, who are also adding new features, new capabilities to our generator. But it's not required to reference or to use all the most recent version. You can, of course, use one of the stable versions which has been published 2 or 3 months ago. Yeah, those were our requirements. So we have replaced HTML with Jade, CoffeeScript for JavaScript, and SCSS for CSS. And that's it. In time, last slide. Yeah, it's a really, really interesting topic. It should demonstrate how you can push HTML master pages and HTML page layouts to the max. It's a little bit crazy, of course, especially when you are mostly developing software in Visual Studio. This is another world, of course, but I think generating SharePoint websites with live preview while editing the Jade file is pretty cool, and it's definitely a great advantage if you have to brand SharePoint sites. So, do you have any questions regarding to the topic? Please. Okay, the question was if how does my development workflow looks like, and I have to say it depends. So we have actually when it's a dedicated branding project based on an existing SharePoint farm with all the customization stuff is done, then this is my development environment. That's my workflow. On the other side, most of the projects look like okay, we were responsible for delivering content types, for bumping out all the site structures. Then, of course, all the infrastructural things were done by using PowerShell, and of course we're using Visual Studio in order to build these apps. And then we have, what we do is actually we call these grunt tasks during pre-build and post-build events. And that's actually how we integrate it currently into Visual Studio 2013. We are thinking about providing let's say, a real extension for Visual Studio in order to get this live preview working with feedback in Visual Studio instead of command line. But right now, in most of the time, it's a mix. So we have we are side by side using Visual Studio 2013. All the tools, of course, run on Windows. So for editing, you could use your editor, your preferred editor. Normally, I use Vim, but I thought it would be a little bit too crazy. It's now to also jump around with all these shortcuts from Vim, but it's always up to you which tools you use. All these languages, all these tools are supported on all platforms, so that's a great thing about it. There was another question over there somewhere? Not? Okay, then at this point, thank you for attending to my session. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and if you have any feedback, would be great that you can just catch me in the floor or somewhere. And thank you.